Welcome to the 18th episode of A Scribe Scribbles, a very special episode indeed. Today we have with us Samantha Heuwagen, bilingual sex therapist, best-selling author, and contributor to the 5-Draft Method video course. I must tell you before we begin that some themes of the following interview may be triggering for some listeners. Samantha is a licensed therapist who finds it paramount to discuss recovery and survivorship of sexual assault in a respectful and inclusive manner. Also note that this episode has been marked explicit for coarse language. And today we're joined by the one and only Samantha Heuwagen. Samantha, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are not a full-time author. You dabble slightly in sex therapy. Is that correct?
I don't dabble slightly in sex therapy. No, I am a bilingual sex therapist in Atlanta, Georgia. That I guess would technically be considered my full-time job. It's weird the way that I've set up my life. So I don't look at it as like part-time versus full-time, which is this is what I do. I'm an author and I'm a therapist. But I guess you would say my day job or the thing that I do the most with my time is therapy. And then I do make space for writing. So I think we're both right in some way, shape, or form, but I definitely think you're wrong. I'm not dabbling in therapy. I'm definitely a licensed therapist and a certified sex therapist and sex educator and all of that fun stuff. So I'm legit.
You are legit, yes, and it's very impressive with everything that you do with the time that you have.
Thank you.
But knowing that you go around, you were an instructor and you do the therapy. So when was it that you actually started writing novels?
Oh, good question. So I think back in my life, I had started writing the Starless series, maybe back in 2010, 2011, but I didn't take it seriously until 2016. Only because between 2010 and 16, I was in grad school. So obviously that took precedent and like basically all of my time.
Right.
I would be writing papers for them and conference presentations, and I just was zonked by the end of it. So I never wanted to write for fun. But it wasn't until 2016 that I was like, I actually think I can do something with this. And it wasn't just like, I'm going to do this to publish. It was like, I think I need this as a self-care outlet or something that's outside of therapy, that's creative and fun and relaxing. I guess in the grand scheme, it's not that long, which, I never really thought about it like that. So
and that's also very impressive. I mean, we want to talk about Fading Starlight, which is the sequel to your debut novel, Dawn Among the Stars. Mm-hmm. But first, there are some fan questions, if you don't mind answering those.
Okay.
And by fan, I mean me. It's me. I'm the fan. Going back to the first question there, I know you said that you don't really think of everything as full-time, part-time, which is incredible, but is writing now something that you plan to do more regularly, or is like the Starless series like your one and done thing?
Oh gosh, if it's my one and done thing, I am going to fall over and jump off a bridge. Like that would be horrible. It would be really, really bad. I really got the bug for writing. So I hope there's stuff in the future, maybe outside of fiction even. I know I have a couple ideas running around my brain that are more of the memoir area, self-help. I hate that like word or that saying, but that's the kind of the arena that I'm going to. So it might be fun to like take a pause from fiction and do something in that realm. But I definitely do take writing seriously. Like I do keep my weeks. Like you said part-time, full-time. To me, it's more like, what am I doing Monday through Friday? So I see clients Tuesdays through Thursdays. Those are times where I do therapy. There might be the occasional day, like a very rare day, that I have a few hours that I can sit down and edit or write. But Monday and Friday are my days of either networking or doing like, continuing education
Mm-hmm.
or writing. And I know Fridays are my days to actually sit and just be a bum and write in front of a computer. That doesn't always happen because of other
Right.
stuff, but for me, it's more like days. And I do write on Monday and Fridays primarily, whether that be writing my books or writing blog posts or, creating content, whatever that looks like. But I do want to continue writing. I don't think this is the end. Like when Starless is done in 2 more books, I'm going to be around. I just don't think it's going to, I don't want to stay in one genre and be like, I'm a science fiction writer, because I don't
Right.
just read science fiction or romance or historical fiction or fantasy. I'm all over the place, and I'm going to write what feeds my soul and actually has a message. So that's a long-winded explanation to be to say I'm not going anywhere, okay? Not
No,
leaving.
that's great. And you actually did kind of answer my next question, which was, what is your work schedule like? So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
scratch that one, and I'm going
Cool.
to insert a new one.
Yay.
Um, and I know you are part of the 5 draft method course on the extradraft.com.
Yeah.
You've contributed to that, which is amazing. But thinking of that, you led me to this question this week. And we do a weekly theme through the podcast, the blog, and the
Mm-hmm.
newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
This week, I'm concentrating on that adage where you have to write every day.
Mm.
And I'm completely against that because, I feel that if you write every day, yeah, you might only get 100 words out, but it's going to be crap words,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to have to redo them anyway. So you're saying, you set aside these certain days for writing on your novels and stuff because you do have your clients and things like that. So how do you feel about that, having to write every day?
When I was in grad school, I had a professor, Kim Golubisky. She said to write every day. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to write every day. And I believed that for a time until I realized what does that mean? Right? Like it was hard to do. What did it mean? What did it look like? And I think now, since I've been like, I guess I would say a professional writer since 2012, because I was doing academic work, just the masses didn't know about it and it wasn't for public consumption, if you will.
Right.
So between that and now, I look at writing every day as you're putting pen to paper in some way, shape, or form. So whether I'm sitting down to write a note after a session, that's still writing. Whether it be to journal every night, because I do journal every night, that's still
Uh-huh.
writing. Even if it's just to write an email, that's still writing. Or, like the big ones when I'm actually sitting down to write a novel, that's writing too. So I think like, yeah, it's cool to think that you're going to write every day, but like, what does it actually look like? And do you want to hurt yourself in pushing out words that, like you said, don't mean anything later on? Now, I don't think there's ever bad words because, like, yeah, I've written stuff that I go back and I'm like, well, what was I saying? But it's also like I look at it putting down the idea as helpful. So I might not articulate my idea, but at least I know the idea is on some surface of some sort, whether it be on my computer or on an actual sheet of paper. So I don't transcribe to it like legitly, like you better write your novel every single day. I'm more like, why don't you give yourself some grace and open up what it means to be a writer and what it means to write every day and not have it just focused on one form of writing, because everything is writing if you are creating, if you are expressing. And just that's like no pressure there. You're doing stuff already. So why don't you include that? Why does it have to be you're at a cafe typing on a computer, smashing those buttons, but you're not saying anything? So it just takes the pressure off if you can open up that definition, in my
Right.
opinion.
Awesome. Awesome. And opening up definitions, let's go ahead and do another one then. It seems to me that every author that I've talked to has at least one interesting writing quirk.
Okay.
So what's yours?
Well, I think it's changed. Like the first book, it was like, I need tea and a candle. The second book, it was like, I need tea and just a comfy place to sit. The
Huh.
third book that I'm working on, the follow-up, the third, I guess I shouldn't say follow-up anymore. I should say third installment of the Starless series. Um, I guess now it would be Peace and Quiet. Something happened where it's like, I do have, if you want to follow me on Spotify, guys, you can totally do that. I have a list called Writing Jams, and I used to crank that sucker up, and I used to, just listen to it on repeat. The first time around, for Dawn, the second time around, it was like I'd listen to it and then let Spotify suggest other songs. And now I'm like, can everyone just shut up? I need everyone to be quiet, and the dog needs to be in the other room, and the birds need to shut the fuck up outside. Oh, I hope I can swear. I'm just gonna be authentic and swear here.
Just do it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think for every book, for me, things have changed, and it probably is more of a representation of like how I'm growing as a person and as an author,
Mhm.
versus like my quirks, because I still drink tea, but now it's
As long
more
as the tea
like,
is still there.
what's that?
As long as the tea is still there, we're good.
Yeah, I mean, but now I'm thinking about it because I'm looking at what I'm drinking right now, and it's just water and then like this like healthy version of a lemonade that I make, which is mostly water. So I'm just like, well, maybe if we say water, as long as water's there, was it warm or. So I don't know if it's a quirk as much as it's like, well, this book I need this. This is where I am with my life, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting that it's changed for each book too.
I know, isn't that crazy? I don't know why. I'm gonna chalk it up to growth. That's where I'm
We can
going
do
with
that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So what is the most surprising thing that you've learned in creating your books?
About me or in the writing process in general?
Either one.
Um,
What has surprised you the most about this whole process?
so the writing process that surprised me the most has been the sheer patience of it all. It moves all so slowly. Like the industry moves slowly, publishing moves slowly, trying to find time to write moves slowly. It's just crazy. Like it's all a time game, and slow and steady wins the race, I guess. It doesn't feel like that as the author on that side, but on the other side, everybody's like, we're going to get there whenever we get there, and it's going to be fine. For me, I guess I always knew I had a message. This is going to sound very like I think of myself as this amazing person, but it's more like, oh, I knew I had things to say.
Hmm.
I just didn't know what they were. And now I feel like I have a message and I have a direction in life, which is, mental health awareness, sexual assault awareness, survivorship, and just healthy relationships. And it's like weird how in my mind, I always knew that that was there, but now I have an outlet to actually share my ideas in a creative way instead of just like, this is what you guys should do. Uh, so yeah, so that's been surprising because I was like, oh shoot, I do have stuff to say, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Okay. Let's get into this series. Then your first book was Dawn Among the Stars, and that
Mm-hmm.
is still available on Amazon, or you can
Yeah,
order it.
wherever you can get
Yeah,
it, wherever
anywhere.
books are sold, which is great.
Yes. But you left us in that book on quite the cliffhanger.
I know. I'm
And
sorry.
it's, so I want to know, how evil did you feel writing that, knowing that it would be at least a year before Fading Starlight was released?
Well, so I feel great. I feel great. Because as an author, like, how boring would it be for it to be like everything's tied up, and then people don't realize that there's another book coming out? Because like as a business-minded individual, I'm like, that's just good business. But then on the flip side, it technically wasn't my fault that it ended that way, because it was supposed to end how Fading Starlight Part 2 begins, but my editor hated it. And so it kind of just ended. Um, because that's just
Yes,
what
it did.
happened in the process. Like, I hate that it just ended, and it should not say the end. It should say to be continued. But again, my publisher was like, nah. So a lot of that was out of my hands. Like I fought as hard as I could to get a better ending, but that's what it was. But it beautifully sets up the next book. on a lot of
And it,
different levels.
and it does, but you also, and you mentioned this, you don't
Mhm.
quite pick up where you left off. So
Right.
how do you sleep at night?
Very well, thank you. With some melatonin and some reading before bed, like it's great. Yeah, so it doesn't. So the first part, so Fading Starlight, similarly to Dawn, because Dawn is divided into three parts, three perspectives.
Hmm.
Fading is divided into two parts, two still three perspectives, but two of those perspectives are together now,
Okay.
without giving away too many spoilers. And so the
Right.
first part actually, the timelines got messed up, and there was like some behind the scenes drama for why. But like, as a reader, you will know and realize that the two timelines got kind of messed up. So the first part of Fading happens 3 months after the first part in Dawn Among the Stars. And then the second part happens several days after the third part ends. So everything will come back together in the third book, but for the second book, the timeline's a little different, and that's okay. I think that's definitely okay.
Right.
Um, Again, it was stuff that was out of my control that I had no power over. That the dramatics of behind the scenes forced me to kind of paint this picture the way that it did. And I tried to keep it as consistent and remind readers as I went along, so people weren't like, "Oh shoot, do I need to reread Dawn
Right.
again?" And I kind of suggest you do, as if you're a big fan of it, then you can quickly go through it and read it again. But then you shouldn't have to, as another flip side. If you want to, great. If you don't want to, you shouldn't have to, and you don't. I believe you don't need to.
Well, I think
Um,
anybody that's read it the first time will want to read it again anyway. But um, real quick,
yeah.
um, Reader's Digest version, and
Okay.
without spoilers,
Okay.
because there are listeners out there that haven't read Dawn yet.
Yeah.
Take us back to Dawn, and
Mm-hmm.
and give us the story that leads up to Fading Starlight.
So, Dawn Among the Stars focuses on three humans and their different reactions to the coming of aliens. So, it is a first contact novel, even though I don't feel like it stays just in one genre or subgenre. But
Mhm.
it is about first contact. But it's not exactly like when the aliens show up. It's much later after their relationship is already established with the humans and people of Earth, which that makes no sense because humans and people of the Earth are the same. Yay, words. Anyway,
Yeah.
so this is the first main character. Her name is Kay Avis. She's a sassy Latina from Detroit, and she is just not about this alien life. Like she recognizes that they're here. They're gonna have to work together, as in like they're gonna be part of our history now and part of our lexicon for the end of time. But she's just not very trusting of them. She doesn't like how it disrupted her life, and that she's just not comfortable with it. Then you have
Okay.
Henry Rickner, who is kind of on the fence about aliens, but more so looking at his storyline, looks at like redemption and how he is trying to get back to the love of his life, which is Kayan. Um,
Mhm.
and does it work out for him? Does it not? Stay tuned. But his focus is like, oh shoot, I've messed up in life. How do I make it up to myself and to the people around me that I care for most? And then you have Melissa Pebbles, who is Kane's best friend. She was a fan of aliens until a horrendous attack happened on Earth, and now she's got to fight for her survival and the survival of her family. But on the way, she discovers what love is, and that family is sometimes not the people who you think they're going to be.
And that is where you just kind of packaged us all up and dropped us off the
Mm-hmm.
proverbial cliff.
Yep.
So thank you for that. But in Fading Starlight, it obviously it does continue. It takes place more on the alien planet Seleucia.
Yeah, the
But
first part definitely happens off planet on Seleucia, and then the second part we come dropping like a rock back to Earth
right.
because yeah.
So explain to us though, because I know that your message is very important through this entire series. So what is the underlining message in Fading Starlight?
So to backtrack just a little bit, Dawn Among the Stars and pretty much the entire series of the Starless series has always been a focus on mental health awareness. So not only are the characters struggling through this life-altering new way of being, but they're also struggling with mental health disorders and situations. So there's got PTSD in there, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, if you want to get real technical as a therapist, adjustment disorders of all kinds. So that's kind of been that message of Dawn, is like, what does mental health actually look like, and not just, people pretending they know what a DSM diagnosis looks like. This is written by a real therapist that works with real clients, and so I really wanted it to be realistic. Fading Starlight is still about mental health. It's just a little different. One of the major themes in that is sexual assault and survivorship. Mm-hmm. So again, this is not supposed to be triggering for anybody, and I apologize if it is, but it's not about the event of the sexual assault. It's about the healing. And for me, I think a lot of authors get stuck in this idea of of a sexual assault as this like catalyst that changes lives. And I'm not saying it doesn't, but it doesn't have to be the only thing that defines a character. For me, my focus was more on like, okay, how does it change a character, but like in a healing way? And how does it impact their community? Because we always think of it happening to one person, therefore it's only that one person's issue, where you actually see a community be affected and how it like brings down a lot of bonds and relationships, and then just questions of like, what am I doing? How am I helping? How am I hurting? So I would say Fading Starlight's message is survivorship and community.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, and I love how you've been able to do that, from the professional viewpoint instead of, just some right, like from the affected or the survivor's viewpoint. And this is like from somebody outside going, hey, you can make it through, and we can do this together.
Yeah, and it brings up not only like that kind of message of like, we're all here for you, but it also brings up like past, because if you look at the statistics, 1 in 4 women are going to be sexually assaulted, and it might even be less because a lot of people don't report their situations. So we're not sure if that number is even accurately represented. But for me, it was more like, okay, this happened to another person, but then my characters have to struggle with like their past history and then their relationship to the person and all these other things that we just don't talk about as a society, which is really sad, because we always put it on that one person, or we say, oh, it didn't happen. As I say we, I mean, there's always that allegedly. I hate that fucking word. That word should go away because it's like 2% of the world's population might make up that they were assaulted. But that is so few to the experience, the real experiences of men and women across the world. That it's like, people don't make this shit up. When it happens to you, it happens to you. And I think that's very important.
I think it's very important, sorry to interrupt, but that you mentioned that, because it's not just women, it is men also.
Right.
And I don't know the numbers, and you're going to know way more than I do on this, but I feel that there are a lot more men out there that say absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of women out there that say nothing too, but the numbers have got to be skewed when it comes to, sexual assault and stuff on men, because it does happen.
Yeah, I think it's like 1 in 8, maybe 1 in 9 that it happens to. But then again, we live in a culture that's all about that machismo mentality. Right. And how could a man be raped? Because he always wants sex. And it's just like, no. Anybody can be assaulted. Anybody can have that horrific thing happen to them. Anyone in any kind of situation, though it's mostly by a partner that, we know, versus a stranger hiding in a bush, jumping out and attacking you. That's just what the statistics look like. And it's really sad that we live in a world that doesn't support survivors or their communities. It's this, again, allegedly community. Like, again, if you could see me, I'm doing air quotes, allegedly community, where we always have to say allegedly, and it's like, ain't nobody lying about this. Like, who?
Right.
What? Like, so this gets my goat, and I was just really happy to bring this message into Fading Starlight, because I saw a gap in the literature. It was like, come on, we're going to talk about it one way, but I want to talk about it holistically, because that's where we're headed as a culture, is for all of us to come together and support versus having the survivor be by themselves. Like, we have a long way to go, but that's my goal as a therapist and as a person of this world, is that I want to see it become more of a community thing where we all stand behind the survivor instead of attack and label.
and that's amazingly wonderful of you. I want to go back to the book now
Mm-hmm.
because you do seem to like to torture your readers with your suspenseful endings. So,
I
though,
like nervously laugh. I'm like, yeah, I do.
yeah, uh, we know this, and we've come to expect it now. Those of us that have been able so far to read the pre-releases of the second book, we know, spoiler alert, that there will be a third. Um, but I also have it on good authority that this original trilogy is now turned into a four-part series.
Yeah. Surprise.
Nice. So there's going to be another book, the third book, and then that one will obviously have a cliffhanger ending as well, because that seems to be your mantra.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's, at least for now, it'd be very interesting. That's why I haven't released the name of the third book very
mm,
publicly. I think I might have slipped out a couple of times. Um, but if this is the last book, it would be a surprise to me. This third one I'm working on. But if it is, great. If not, great. I'm ready for all of it. It's just so much happens in my stories that it's like I'd rather not pull a Game of Thrones season 8 where I rush it for no apparent reason
yeah.
when I have the time to make good work. And I think for me, my cornerstone of who I am is focused on excellence. I might not reach it, but my focus is on excellence. So why rush a story when I have time to actually depict said story? So yeah, we'll see. 2 or 3 books, and yeah, lots more cliffhangers because
Lots more cliffhangers.
that's
Yes.
my calling card. And I kind of I feel like people, if they like my work, they should always be prepared for an unresolved ending. Just throwing that one out there. That's my little nugget for the extra draft. Okay, because
There you go. Be prepared.
be prepared. If you like my work, you will not be happy with it, and that's exactly why you read Samantha Heuwagen because
That's it.
she'll make you
Um,
mad.
but Fading Starlight does come out June 17th.
Yeah, it's like less than a month. Oh well, from I
Yeah.
don't know when you're airing this podcast, but from where I'm sitting, it's less than a month, which is crazy.
Yes, it is crazy. And we will be airing next week.
Oh,
Um,
perfect. Okay, great.
yeah. Yeah, I want to give you time to get this out there. But I know you had a grandiose book release for Dawn. I know because I was there. Uh,
I did. It was great. We
so
had cake. It was wonderful.
we did have it was an amazing cake too. Um, but so what are your plans for the release for the second book?
Definitely smaller, only because of where I am a year later. So I'm having an intimate gathering where you can get tickets, unofficial tickets, to come see me and have it. It's called A Night with Samantha, where it's just a small little gathering where we eat, have more cake because cake is amazing, and
Yes.
just chill out and talk about the series and what people think of it. And it's later too, which I kind of appreciate because the launch happened last year so quickly after the release. A lot of people hadn't finished it yet, had finished the book, hadn't finished Dawn Among the Stars. Now I'm going to have this launch about a month later, so people
Okay.
can read Fading Starlight and actually be a part of the conversation because I think we missed out on some good discussion because people
I
were
think
like,
yeah.
"Don't spoil it," and I'm like, "Oh, guys, you had it
Uh,
for a week," but I
yeah,
realized
exactly.
people
See,
don't
and that
read
was
things that fast.
yes. Well, and that was and like in my case, I didn't even get a copy of the book until I was there at the release, so
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
have a chance to even open it.
right.
Um, I'm glad I did, and I've read it a few times now.
Yeah,
But
thank
yeah, so
you.
that's awesome. You're going to be a month later, give people time to read it, a little smaller, but make sure you have the cake.
Yes, I will, and it's going to be made by the same lady. Susie is an amazing caketress, if you will, or baketress. I always like to make the cute little names, and she is phenomenal, and I'm very lucky to have her in my life as a friend and as a reader. That's how we met, which is crazy. We met because of the launch party. She read the book and was like, "Girl, I'm gonna make you a good cake because this book is amazing." And I was like, "What?
And it was a
Crazy."
really good cake. It was
It
beautiful. And
was. I felt like she picked up on my passion and my love for what I was doing, and she put it in that damn cake. And people still talk about that cake almost a
they
year
do.
later. So
Yes.
it
And
was it
if
was a
you're
gift.
interested, I'm going to talk to the listeners real quick. If you are interested, you can find uh, on Facebook, yeah, your group
The Starless
and
series closed
the
secret
series.
group.
Secret, yes. Invite only. But no, go there, look up the Starless series on Facebook in the groups and request to join because I know that Susie and pictures of the cake are still in there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it is amazing.
Yeah, and I
Um,
can't wait to see what she comes up with for this second cake because I feel like the cover image for Fading Starlight is so abstract in a way that it's just like, ooh, you could do anything with it, which is really fun for me on my end.
it is, and it's going to be great no matter what. So
Thank you.
we
Thank
know
you.
that. But you have been a dear friend and a contributor to the Five Draft Method writing class. And we had some questions that came in regarding more general writing.
Okay.
I want to pose to you real quick if we can.
Yeah.
Um, this one's really good, and I'm interested in your answer more than most probably. But the
Okay.
question came from a student. What can I do to become a more efficient writer?
Ooh. Oh, practice. Practice. Because I'm thinking back to like, oh, how did I become, I guess, quote, proficient? Because a lot of people have commented within like the last year about how quickly I one can pop out a book and two pop out any kind of written thing, whether that be a letter for a client or an email or I work with some students still on their writing and stuff like that. So um, they're always like, how do you do it so fast? And I'm like, and so well. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know. This is what I do. Right. And I think about, okay, how did I get from being a newbie to this is what I do? And it was practice. It was putting in the time and the effort to do it well enough that it actually turned into something worthwhile, right? Whether it be an email or book or whatever, is practice. Because I didn't start out as a fiction author. Like I remember one of my first, way back in the day, one of my first critiques was, "You're too academic. This isn't fiction." Well, look at me now, biatch. But
Yeah, yeah, they're silent.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still something that that stayed with me because I had to practice being a fiction writer, just like I had to practice being an academic writer, and it just takes the time and the effort. Like I probably wrote Dawn over several years, but I wrote Fading in 6 months. Why? I don't know. Maybe because something was calling to me and that's, I knew the characters. Sure, I could make excuses like that, but I think it goes back to I'm proficient because I put in the time to practice.
So we
Regardless
can
if
expect a third in about 3 months.
I don't know what happened because I am like a quarter of the way into the third book and I'm looking at my timeline going, how is it the end of May and I only have 12 chapters out of, 30 however many there's going to be.
Right.
So I think it also goes back to timing. Like I had the time for Fading Starlight. This time my therapy career, because of the book, because of the speaking events, for all the stuff that I do, that's kind of taken. I always said that 2019 was going to be the year of the therapist, and by God, has it been the year of the therapist? So it's taken me time to write the third, but when I do have writing sessions with myself, it comes out quicker. Why? I know the characters, and because I've practiced enough that I already know what I'm going to say, and I know how to do it. So I
Awesome.
would say practice, practice, practice. You're only going to get better the more you do it. Whether it's writing an email, writing a book, doing academic stuff, doing blog posts, doing just a nice, smart Twitter, you know,
Mhm.
post, whatever. Um, it's just practice, 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 practice.
So there you go. Practice a lot.
Yeah.
The next one here is a two-part, so
Okay.
this should
Give
be
me
fun.
one at a time because I'll forget.
Okay.
Forget what the parts
Well,
are.
they do go together, so we'll try it there.
Okay.
Um, but this goes back to that, you write what you know kind of thing, and it says,
Mm-hmm.
how much of yourself do you put into your stories? And then the second part, do you think this is a conscious or a subconscious thing?
Well, I'll definitely answer the first part or the second part first because I did not, and I'll tell you the story, but I'll say it's all subconscious. So to answer the entire question, both part one and two, it wasn't until recently that I had a conversation with my best friend. She was telling me that a lot of the stuff that I had dealt with as a person was coming out in my writing, whether I knew it was happening or not. And it wasn't until I started thinking about it that I was like, oh my gosh, some of my subconscious thought is coming out in my writing, and it's helping me process, that's a therapy term, process what has happened to me in my life. And again, and I'm not just saying it's the Starless series, like though there are many aspects of who I am in the Starless series represented across the board. I have
Mm.
had people very close to me be like, "Are you so and so, or is this character you?" And I'm like, "They're all me. Like, there's part of me in everybody." So, yeah, but no at the same time. And if people choose to see me as a character, then that's fine. I can represent that for them, but they can also see themselves represented back in the pages too. So I've kind of left it a little bit ambiguous. But I have gone back, and it hasn't just been the Starless series, but it's been blog posts or research or things that nobody's ever seen, that hasn't seen the light of day. Part of me goes into all of it, and I think that's what happens when you're a creative. Like, you only know your experience, therefore you're going to write from your experience. And if you are processing something, whether it be traumatic or not, it's going to find its way in the book. Like, I will say this, and I've said this publicly many times, my best friend Danielle is represented in Melissa Pebbles.
Mm.
She is Melissa Pebbles, but the name came from another dear friend of mine whose name is Melissa. So real life does impact my writing. I'm sure my heart and soul is found all over the things that I create, whether it be an Instagram photo or post, to a Twitter post, to Starless series. Like, I cannot, I will not and cannot divide myself just to make a product. That
Right.
doesn't make any sense, and that's not authentically who I am. Just like, how I'm talking now and how I've talked on this podcast, this is how I talk in the therapy session. This is how I talk when I'm teaching. This is how I talk when I'm, um, doing all the things in my life. Like, I'm not going to change who I am and turn off parts of who I am, because that's not authentic. And my focus is authenticity. So that was a long-winded explanation, but I think I did it. I think I answered both one and two. So
Yes, you did.
yay.
Um, this next one, I think I picked this one out because I think it would really resonate with you. Um, what would you, as 2019 Samantha,
Mm-hmm.
tell a young woman or a little girl who's thinking about writing a book?
Mm-hmm. What would I tell them?
Hmm.
Um, do it. Uh, do it. Let them see you do it. And don't take no for an answer, because writing doesn't have to be made public. But again, it can be the tool for creation, whether that is to create a better life, understanding of ourselves, or to help somebody else. It doesn't matter. But as long as your heart and soul is into it, again, nobody needs to read it, but if it's making you better, then just do it. And never have this is so weird. I can't believe I'm saying this now, but never have a goal in mind. Like, I think a lot of people come to writing and they think it's a get rich quick scheme, but it's not. No, it
No,
is
it is not.
not. Maybe for long term it could be, but for most of us authors, we're never going to get rich off this. It's just your soul's going to be on fire, and that should be the goal and the focus, not the monetary value of it, but it should be creating knowledge and making the world a better place. That's why we write. So just do it. Just don't have a goal in mind, and just do it.
Just do it. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, why did you choose traditional publishing over self-publishing?
Because I'm busy. Because I'm busy, and I wanted to try my hand at the traditional route, and it kind of worked out. I have some qualms, but I think I would have qualms with any way, shape, or form of getting a book out.
Hmm.
Um, but it happened, and I'm lucky it happened, and I'm very, very happy that it happened. Self-publishing is not out of the wheelhouse, because, I'll be honest, Fading Starlight almost came to be through self-publishing. Um, Luckily that the publisher had a change of heart and fell in love with it as much as I love it. But I don't think I hate this mentality of like traditional publishing versus self-publishing. It's get a book out there, man. However you're going to get it out there. Yeah, there's going to be pros and cons with each way that you do it, but just do it. Like, just whatever. I've known artists. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I've known authors come out and say that they only would do traditional. Okay, then you're going to fight and you're going to work, and that's going to look different. But then I've also seen people who just love the process of writing, who, again, they're not doing it for money, they're doing it for the process of writing, that they're like, no, I'll self-publish until the cows come home because it's easier for me and it works for my life, and we're going to do it this way. So I think for me, I was more like team, oh my gosh, I don't really have time to monitor, to be a quote full-time author or writer. So I'm going to let somebody else take that behind the scenes stuff. I'll just be the creator.
Right.
And that's what worked for my life. It doesn't work for everybody, but it worked for my life at this time. Now, if you ask me in 5, 10 years, whatever, and I've got some self-published works out there, cool. If not, cool. But I'm not against it anymore like I used to be. I try the traditional thing. I get it. I work just as hard as anybody, whether I'm in a big house or a small house or doing it by myself. I think it's all about what you need from life as your career as an author or a writer versus like, that money, because you're just not going to make money. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like your first couple of books, you're just not going to see a return. And that's okay, because again, it's about getting that story out there, that knowledge out there, that helping other people kind of piece out there versus like making a dime, because you're just not going to make money. Sorry.
Right.
It's very
No,
pessimistic of me, but you're just not.
well, you're not, and that's one of the things that we push on the 5 draft method too. Is we write because we love it, not because
Yeah.
we have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very important message. So
I think you could definitely make a business model out of it. That's the business side of me thinking. But it's going to be like you have to. There's going to be other. We could do a whole nother podcast about this, because you're going to have to do stuff to make that happen, and it's just not going to happen overnight.
So along those lines, then this next question feeds in. Do you think someone can be a published author if they don't feel emotions strongly?
Yeah. I guess I just flipped into like therapist mode where I was like, I have more questions for this question. Yeah, it might. Okay, so from the Samantha point of view, that's not how I work. So it's kind of hard for me to figure out what that would look like. But from like everybody's different point of view, I think you can do whatever you want as long as you can articulate it. I don't know what that would look like or what that actually means, but if you can make it happen, like, yeah, then you could totally do it. You might need some sensitivity readers, you might need better readers and a good editor to help you kind of dissect that emotion wise, but you could do it. It might make life difficult for you, but you can do it. I know, speaking from Samantha's world, that would be very impossible because I'm a very emotional person. So.
Right. I'm the same way too.
Yeah.
When that question came across, I was like, my first thing was no. But then like you, I realized that was my personal answer. Like, I know it can be done, but I don't think that I could do it,
and there are some people, like, I'll be honest with you, like some of my reviews have said that no, I shouldn't say that. Reviews that are public that you can go on Amazon and Goodreads and read, or reviews that people have given me, to my face. There are some people that have said, oh, it's too emotional, or, I felt that. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. You should have felt that because I wanted you to feel that. So it's kind of mind-boggling to do the opposite, but it's also depending on the reader. The reader might think my work is too fluffy and airy and too focused on harsh emotions, whereas you might get another reader that like appreciates that you cut out the bullshit, so to speak, and that you just get to the plot, and that's that. Everybody's different, and there is a reader for everybody, an audience and a reader for everybody.
So does writing, and we're talking about just the novels, because I know you do a lot of writing with your therapy and stuff, but just speaking novels, does writing energize or exhaust you?
I think, this is going to make me think for a minute. I don't know, because I'm thinking, like, if I'm tired and I'm already tired that day, I'm going to be tired. Regardless if I'm writing or doing therapy or just, sitting on the couch. If I'm tired, I'm tired. If I'm energized, I'm energized. I think writing for me makes me feel good. I don't know if it's about an energy level, but it makes me feel good. But if I'm writing a hard scene, I can feel sad or I can feel drained almost
Okay.
emotionally, not physically, like more like emotionally. So I would say yes and no at the same time. I think as me as a person, if I'm like tired, I'm tired. If I'm energized, I'm energized, and I can, thank goodness, maintain either one throughout the day or go up and down depending on what happens during the day. Of course, I'm human, but I think when I'm writing, it's like, what's happening in the writing? Like, are we killing off people? Like, are we having a love moment? Are we triumphing over something? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's so many more, avenues to explore. So when I think back to it, I think I'm happy that I'm able to do it. So I don't look at it as like a time suck or an energy suck. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, when I think of back to writing Fading Starlight, there's been a couple of times in that process that I was just like, what have I done?
Yeah.
It was more like a shock than it was like I have to go lay down and I can't speak to people for a few hours. It was more like, what have I done? Well, we'll go back to it tomorrow, So I hope that answered the question because I think it just depends on what's going on in the scene.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I hope
Um,
so because that was a long explanation for me to figure
yeah.
out that answer. Because even I was like, I don't know, I don't
There's some good questions that came across.
know. Yeah, it was great.
Um, we talk, and I know you've written about this on your blog recently. That writing it isn't, is it or is it not a solo thing?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but whether it is or not, one of the most important things for any writer is at least that one person, and hopefully there's more, but every writer needs at least that one person that really supports them.
Mm-hmm.
So where does your support come from?
Oh, everybody that's in the acknowledgments at the end of my book. I think I put it into two camps. There are the personal support and then the writing support. So, like, I think of my friends and my husband especially are like the biggest supporters of all that I do.
Hmm.
Um, Even if they don't write me reviews, which I'm like, you guys suck, but I understand. But people have some hangups about that because they're like, I know you, I can't do that. And I'm like, okay, but
Oh.
it helps me as an author. But other than that, they support me in different ways. They'll buy my book. They'll talk to people about my book. They'll come to events. They'll listen to me when I'm like, geez, this process is hard.
Hmm.
Or like, I'll be honest, my husband came up with the tagline for Dawn Among the Stars. So we reach for the stars and the stars reach back. That's from him. I stole that. And he loves that I stole it because he's very proud of himself. Um, and so he's been a really big supporter and just a great person to have in my corner. Then you've got my writing friends, which are you and Hannah, Leah, and Kayla. You guys listen to me cry and whine. And then if I have like a question about like formatting something or what have you, it's like you're there, and you have an answer. And then you guys are in it too, which I think is the key piece. It's like, yeah, my other support network supports me, Samantha, the person, but
Hmm.
you guys as writers understand how incredibly rewarding it is to be an author and a writer, but
Hmm.
also how freaking hard and exhausting it all can be.
Yes.
Which is, I think that's what people need when you want to be an author or a writer. You got to have that writing tribe. Now, they don't need to be your best friends in the world. I'm very lucky that they have become my best friends in the world. But you got to have somebody you can turn to and be like, I can't make this character do this thing. Like, because if you say that to a regular person, they're going to be like, you're nuts.
Right.
I'm going to 1013 you. You need help. But if you say that to somebody in the community, I think it's so much better because they're like, girl, I know. I
Right.
can't make my characters do shit either. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's good. You do have a very large support system, and that is shown, like you said, in the acknowledgments in your books and stuff. And That is very important. So
Thanks.
I'm glad that you have that, and I know that's going to push you to finish out the series and go beyond. So
Yeah, I'm so lucky in this whole process. Like people have, I don't want to say crawling out of the woodwork because that sounds like it's bad, but like you'll never understand who, and I'm gonna say love, for lack of a better word, who loves you, um, when you go through this. Like this is so incredible. How many people I have met because of this journey? How many people I've reconnected with because of this
mm,
journey? Like I thought I was a lonely island, and then I got into this, and I was like, nope, like I'm
yeah,
not. Like this is incredible, and I'm so thrilled that I have all
Bon
these things.
Jovi was full of shit.
I know. He was a bit.
Okay,
So,
I got two questions remaining for you, and I saved them for the last because I absolutely fell in love with both of these questions.
okay.
So this one here, what is one thing that you would give up to become a better writer?
What is one thing that I would give up to become a better writer?
Mm-hmm.
What would I give up to become a better writer? Oh my gosh, I don't know. You're right. This is a good question. I was like, do I have to give up anything? Like, hmm.
I'm satisfied with my writing ability right now. No, but yeah, we all
Okay.
strive to be better. So if
Yeah.
there was a genie and he was like, "I'll make you the best writer ever, but you have to give up one thing," what would it be?
Oh my God. You know what's so bad is like I want to fight this genie. Like I'm like, nah, it's not worth it to me. Like I'm trying to think because my first stupid thought was like maybe my ability to pose in a photo, like because if you guys follow me on Instagram, like I remember when you and I first like met, you were always like, "Do you have a photographer like following you
Yeah,
around?" I was
yeah,
like, "Well,
kinda.
no, but but almost like." So I don't know because I'm trying to think like what I would give up. Maybe my love for tea.
Oh,
Like
you do
I
love tea.
I do love tea, but like I don't want to give up somebody or like this is why it's so hard for me to answer this question because I'm like so obsessed with my life right now and I'm so in love with my life that I'm like, do I have to give anything up? Like, can I just work hard to be a better writer? Like, can I just practice to go back to the previous statement I made about practicing? Like, why do I have to give up to like gain? That is
Yeah.
not the thought. That's not the thinking of abundance. That's the opposite. So
Well, luckily
yeah,
you don't have to give up your tea, and you are an amazing author. So
thank
keep
you.
practicing and
Thanks.
get
Yeah.
there. But we will leave you with this one question.
Oh
And
gosh.
talking about fading starlight,
Mm-hmm.
somebody wants to know, what did you edit out of the book?
Mm. In just fading or both of them?
We'll go with both of them. How about that?
Okay, because I'm fading not much. Actually, to be honest with you, it really freaked me out. Not much got edited out, um, which was like it blows my mind because I was so sure about where I knew the story was going that it was just like, boop, I'm not going to have any fluff. This is where I'm going. But with Dawn, I feel like there was a dream sequence that nobody has seen.
Oh,
That nope, maybe I'm lying. Maybe Hannah, my editor, has seen it. But like I know there was a beautiful dream sequence um, that got pared down. The ending, like I said, got totally rewritten. Um, some other like non-important scenes, I can't stand that word, so we're just gonna go with non-important. I speak two languages, guys. Sometimes it's hard. um, so yeah, so like I think in general, things that don't matter got pared down, but I know them as an author because I know the world. So yeah, and that's just freaking me out the more I think about Fading Starlight and how nothing really huge got taken out. It was more like it was very straightforward. Like I knew where the story was going, and I wasn't going to waste any time to get there.
I think we're all intrigued in this dream scene now.
I
So you
know.
might have to come up with some contest or something where you're going to release that.
That's true. I also too have a dream of gaining my rights back and like kind of fixing the end of Dawn and, maybe adding some more fun stuff in like the dream sequence, but
Oh yeah,
we'll
an even
see.
better, an even more extreme cliffhanger there,
I
maybe.
know. I kind of love it. There's some people that are really good at ending their books. I think the one thing that I struggle with is ending stuff. But
Yeah.
I
Like
swear
we're
I
not gonna
will
end it. We'll
say
just write a whole nother book.
the ending of Fading Starlight is much improved versus the ending of Dawn Among the Stars. Don't you think? Like,
I do. Yeah.
at
I
least
mean,
you
it's
have a
still
sense that if you've
cliffhanger,
never had a book, yeah, if you've never got this third book, at least you'd have a sense that you like knew where everybody was headed.
right? Yeah,
Whether they got
yeah.
there or not is another topic. But at least you in your mind, because I feel like even though it's problematic, the reason why I love cliffhangers so much is because the one book that has stayed with me, and though it is problematic, Gone with the Wind, has an ending that has always pissed me off.
It has a lot of people. Yes.
Uh-huh. And so, like, I know that whole story is, I mean, we could talk about a whole other podcast is about Gone with the Wind, because I'm an avid researcher of Gone with the Wind. Like, I can have an academic conversation about this. But I think about how that ending has always stayed with me. And I think so again, going back to that question about is it subconscious or conscious, I think that's why I just end my stories that way, because I was so impacted by this. So, yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Interesting. Interesting.
So we will remind everyone out there to go wherever they get books and pick up Dawn Among the Stars.
Yep, and you can pre-order Fading Starlight, which let me give you a little teaser about what Fading Starlight is about. It is about deepening relationships between the humans and the Lemurians, which is a one alien race. It is about community and forming a safety net, if you will, of people and of place. You will look at mental health awareness, again, sexual assault survivorship, and how collectively the characters deal with that in their various ways, shapes, and forms. So if you're looking for a feminist science fiction book with some political drama, with some romance, the Starless series is definitely for you. It's not just one thing. A lot of people say it's just, oh, it's science fiction, therefore it's science fiction. It's not. It's got a little bit of everything for everyone. So if you like romance, we got it for you. If you got mystery, we got it for you. If you like adventure, we got it. If you like political drama, trust me, we've got that in spades. So yeah,
And
there's a little.
also, if you just like a well written book, we have that for you as well.
Thank you.
Yes. So yes, order Dawn, get that in and read it, and then pre-order Fading Starlight, which come out on June 17th. And if you're the ones that haven't already read Dawn, I feel like they're like the people that don't watch the entire season until after the season finale, so they don't have to wait a year.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so
you're
they
not
might.
wrong, because there's so many people that are like, I'm not gonna get the first one until the second one comes out, and I was like, all right, but then you're gonna be mad. Like you're still gonna
Jokes
be
on.
mad, but okay. But yeah, maybe we should do a giveaway. That would be kind of fun for your classes. Like you will host a
Yes.
little giveaway. You can get Dawn and Fading Starlight. So
Yes, we will talk about that. Maybe we can do that. Announce that at your release party in July.
yeah,
Um,
look out, guys. Giveaways
look out.
coming for you.
We got stuff to
But
give
don't
away.
wait. But don't wait. Like, don't wait till July 13th for your copies. Get them as soon as you can.
There you go. Yeah, and make sure to everybody out there that you go by Samantha's website, and that is samanthaheuwagen.com. You
Hopefully, you
find
have
out.
that in the show notes, because
I
my
will
last
have it.
name is
I
Nuts.
yes. Well, your last name is really Heuwagen, not
Yeah.
Nuts. It is. No. Yes, we will have all the links and stuff to that as
Yeah.
well.
Come play with me over on Instagram. I'm much more active over on Instagram. than I am on Twitter or any other social media platform. So come have fun with us. We love hanging out over on Instagram. Also, if you like behind the scenes stuff or be the first one to know what's going on with me and the Starless series, come join the Starless series group because we're having a great time. We're having such a great time over there, and I drop a lot of hints and a lot of heads up kind of things. So
Yes,
come
yes.
visit,
If,
come hang out with
if
us.
if you are listening to this and you're out driving or whatever, don't try to write this stuff down now. Um, but you can
Please
also,
don't.
yeah, please don't. You can also go to extradraft.com and check out the blog. There is a entire blog about your contribution there, and
Yay.
have all links to all of your social and your website there, so everybody can find you and check it out.
I appreciate
Um,
it. Thank you.
but Samantha, thank you so much for being on the show. We've enjoyed it. Your answers were amazing, and we do look forward to Fading Starlight being released in less than a month now.
I know. Thank you so much for everything and all your support and love and everything. It's been incredible to watch you grow and to get to know you better. And I'm just happy to be a part of your life.
We're doing it together.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Sam.
You're welcome. Bye.
Don't forget you can follow Samantha on Instagram, Twitter, and keep up to date with all of her book releases on her website. All of the links and information are in the info panel for this episode. We have 2 days remaining for the 5 draft method ebook contest. If you head to extradraft.com, you can still sign up and enter to win a free copy of the ebook. If you want extra entries, tell your friends, have them sign up, and use your email address in the referral link box, and you will get an extra entry. The deadline is June 1st for all entries, and the drawing will be held on June 5th. Don't forget to follow extradraft.com, the blog, here on the podcast, and the weekly newsletter. And until next week, have fun and write words.